So, I feel like you were wishing that I would wear my pom-pom earrings today. Here, let me move my hair so you can see them better. You are welcome. I wanted to talk very quickly here towards the beginning of the semester about the language that we use in this class. I know you will have been told or absorbed over the years. By the way, I'm outside, you're going to hear lots of traffic. You will have been told that certain kinds of language are appropriate in a school or a college classroom, and that's generally true. We don't want to offend anyone. But I have to say that the content of this class, with us looking at social media, the language sometimes is a little more real than you might be seeing in other classes. I know that in some of the examples I'll provide throughout the semester, there are occasional swear words. Sometimes I've tried to sort of take them out if I have editing abilities, but I just want to make it clear I'm not trying to offend anyone, but also I'm trying to reflect what's actually happening on social media, what's real. And as long as we're talking about language, I want to talk just in general about, the kinds of academic writing. So if you've taken comp classes and you've learned more academic writing, that's sometimes thought of as dry. It's also thought of, to be honest, as it's white English is what it is. The language of academia is white English. The standard written English that's accepted as sort of the common, okay, proper kind of language to use it's just the language of whiteness. And it has often been used by teachers or by institutions or by employers as yet another tool of oppression. Let's consider for a minute these couple of tweets here from Min-Jin Lee, who is a highly regarded author, best known for her book Pachinko, which the New York Times in 2017 called it one of the best books of the year. So she's quite esteemed. She tweets, "A Yale history professor told me to get tutoring for my remedial English. I'd already received Wright Prize for nonfiction and later that year the Veitch Prize for fiction. So I told him, it's not that I don't know how to write, it's that you don't know how to read. #grammar. And then she adds, you shouldn't have to win prizes to defend your writing. I just want to witness here that language and style can be an oppressive force. I teach writing at a college, and I want my students to love the power, beauty, and suppleness of language." So here, Min-Jin Lee, who is Korean, identifies a problem that she's encountered in terms of language use and the judgments that are leveled towards it. And I really appreciate the way she points out that the sort of standard English that academia often enforces really truly can be oppressive for people. And in this class, and actually in all of life in the world, I'm going to say, how about if we just value all the different Englishes equally, okay? I like this example of a tweet from Esmeralda Bermudez. I don't speak Spanish, you guys, as you're about to find out. Anyhow, I like it because it indicates the sort of emotional and mental cost that can come with conflicting language issues and choices. So she's a Spanish speaker who's Salvadoran. She also speaks English, and I don't know, let's just read it so you can kind of get a glimpse into her psyche here. She says, "My Salvadoran dilemma, I was not raised to tutear. Voceo feels intimate, usually reserved for my inner circle. Using usted with peers is totally bizarre. This often leaves me a little tongue-tied and stressed when speaking Spanish. Does the same ever happen to any of you?" And then she adds, "Honestly, voceo is closest to my heart. Every time I speak it, I speak from my roots. I don't know when or how the pressure to assimilate muffled the voceo out of me. It's like an heirloom I keep hidden in my jewelry box. At 40, I'm searching for the courage to use it, to be me. So again, she's sort of internally conflicted about, she's considering the different you usages in Spanish in terms of some are more informal versus formal. And so for her, there's some sort of internal cognitive dissonance about the Spanish that she speaks, but some of that has come from pressures about English as well. So I very, very much like the line about the heirloom that she keeps hidden in her jewelry box, this particular Spanish usage. So I'm just trying to draw your attention to the fact that the language we use, where and when and how we use it, is more than just an intellectual choice. It's often a choice of the heart. And I know maybe some of you are not so interested in hearing this kind of talk, but I feel like it really needs to be acknowledged. So in this class, I want to create space and let you know that I'm very open to affirming a lot of varieties of English. So not just our good old standard written, long accepted in the classroom kind of English, which is great and fine. But also, like, if you have a different home language, you can bring that into your posts for this class. I know that for most people actually in the world, that we do something that's called code switching. So we use we talk one way or we write one way to our friends or our family, and then we formalize it, we switch it up a little bit for situations like the workplace or the classroom. And it's actually good to know how to code switch. It's good to be able to read the room, know your audience, and know how to switch that up when you need to. But when it comes to social media and real world writing, which is what this whole class is about, I'm really a proponent of code meshing, which ends up creating really creative, beautiful, interesting English. So code meshing means you can take something from, say, a home language or the kind of slang that you would use in your real life, and you can blend it in with some of the more formal kinds of English that we're used to. Hey, how about an example off of the Instagram account of Humans of Bombay, which is a take on the Humans of New York idea. I'm assuming most of you will have encountered the Humans of New York because it's a pretty major social media account. So the official Humans of Bombay, look at these two cutie boys. Do we love them? The correct answer is yes. Yes, we love them. But I wanted to show you how in the caption, sort of a transcript of a little interview with these two boys, we see code meshing that results in much more interesting expression of a point. So off to the side here it says, I always share my toffees with Josh, but he doesn't give me anything. And the interviewer says, then what do you do? And the kid says, nothing. Interviewer says, nothing? And the kid says, if I take his chocolates, he starts crying and complains to Mama. Josh is a rotu. Now, we don't know what that last vocabulary word means necessarily, unless we are of Indian extraction. But I'm going to guess from context it means that Josh there is a big tattletale. We see a nice example here from Hanif Abdulrakib on Twitter, and if you're on Twitter, he's a great follow. He writes really intelligently and beautifully about music. He's a music super fan. Anyhow, I want to show that his English draws a bit from Ave, African American Vernacular English, just in terms of some of his sort of easy structures. He says, my favorite No Limit album that I feel doesn't get as much shine as the other great ones is Fiend's Street Life. Everything KLC did on that album was elite. And then he tweets, I mean, both of these beats absolutely still hit it for me, and that's to say nothing of The Rock Show, which is my favorite track off that album by far. For some of you, you might not even notice, I mean, we're used to hearing this kind of English a lot or seeing it. And if there's one thing that white Americans do, it's to really try to adopt language out of Ave. It's a tradition because I tell you, Black English is some of the most wonderfully expressive and constantly evolving English that there is. So I just want to show you those examples here. We could point to the words shine and elite. His usages here, even these beats absolutely still hit it for me. A lot of that is coming out of Ave. So that's an example of a really nice variant of English. And here's another example of a tweet that does a certain kind of meshing. This one is primarily written in English, but Esmeralda Bermudez here uses some words that are culturally, I mean, they're Spanish, but they've really been blended into English at this point because they are words that many native English speakers are, at least in the United States, are pretty familiar with. So I just wanted to point out those words and that kind of meshing that's happening between the languages. Here's another example off of Twitter. This one shows you a kind of meshing because we've got the David Bowles here. We've got him. His caption, his tweet is in Spanish, and he's referring to an article that is in English. So he's definitely moving back and forth. He's got an expanded audience here because he's got bilingual audience in mind. And so I think this is a pretty cool use of Twitter. So code meshing is totally great. If you want to get really English majory about it, sort of when we talk about grammar, there is prescriptive grammar, which is like the grammar handbook rules. You know, apostrophe goes here. You know, we use this verb with, you know, singular, plural, this kind of stuff. That's prescriptive. It's the telling you how it should be, the proper, the right. The no fun. And then there is descriptive grammar, which is a grammar that indicates what's actually coming out of people's mouths or being written. So grammar as it exists authentically in the real world. So I will tell you that if your mission in every class you're taking in college is that you want to work more on mastering the rules of prescriptive grammar, that's great. I can be here for you on that. But if you think, oh good, this is a time where I can flex the descriptive grammar for once in a classroom setting, well, let's have some fun with that. I mean, we've got to stay within certain bounds of appropriateness. We have a lot of people from different backgrounds. We don't all know everyone's values. But I think it's okay for this class for you to get a little more loose with the way you express yourself. This tweet here taps into the idea of descriptive grammar being the more legitimate kind of grammar when it comes to creativity and authenticity. So J. Marshall Freeman says, grammar is how a language is actually spoken, not attempts to codify it as a tool of division. So that taps again back into the idea that sometimes language and the idea of what's proper and what's the right language to use ends up being something that divides us and definitely a tool of oppression. This tweet here further makes the case for some freedom in the Englishes that we use. Emily Ching says, I'd argue that writing is maybe not worthless, but devalued if one does adhere strictly to the proper principles of grammatical convention. Some of the most interesting work has played with grammar, spelling, etc. There's a time and a place for everything, of course. You know what? If you get one lesson out of this entire semester in this class, let it be this. I know for me as an English teacher, I am really uncomfortable with being a standard bearer of the kind of white English that has often been used to hold people down, or to make them feel othered, or as though the way they express themselves is somehow less than. Because in my mind, all the many varieties of English are amazing and beautiful, and we're lucky to have them. And how about this scorcher of a tweet? It's I don't spot any lies, I'll tell you that. Noticed for years now that insecure faculty often use grammar policing to prop themselves up, to exercise power, and this selfish tactic can prevent some of the best writers from blooming. And the rest of it, it goes on, but I definitely feel that way, that if we are too rigid about enforcing standards of white English, we really do end up quashing some great writing from happening. I mean, this is a challenge to you guys, of course, to do that great writing, so, you know. And here's another tweet just in terms of the takeaways that I hope for you to get from this video. Just this sentiment. Our language is so beautiful. It's time we become kinder to one another. I like what you said and how you said it. There's no wrong or right. So, chew on that one, friends.
So, just wanted to hit on the fact that no matter how you express yourself in your posts and your writings for this class, all I ask from you is that it's a deliberate choice. So don't just kind of like, oh, I have 5 minutes till the thing's due, blah, and then, I mean, obviously that's never a good approach, come on. But also then you would just kind of spew some things out just to get it done. I would like it that, you know, if you are choosing to do some code meshing or to kind of use the real actual language you would in life, I ask that you're doing it deliberately with thought, where you've actually weighed each word and you'd be like, nah, this is going to be funnier if I do it this way, or it's going to create a mental image if I, you know, talk about the Nike slide or whatever. So just be deliberate about it. And I really would like for all these exercises in real world writing to express your authentic voice, and so you don't feel like you're having to put on your kind of talk for this class as you have perhaps in other classes. I would really like it if you go ahead and use your real English, and probably the result's going to be something much more interesting than if you're just sort of staid and proper all the time. So yeah, let me know if you have questions about that, but I felt like it was something we kind of needed to get out there, because I know it's something that more and more English teachers are grappling with. I know for me it's just really tough, the idea that I'm ever telling any other human being that the way they express themselves is somehow not correct. So the beauty of the social media class is you do you, my friends, you do you, okay?
And finally, I wanted to find a really fine example of Ave, African American Vernacular English. And this was actually a video originally on Twitter with this guy looking at his phone while he's walking down to let his girl in. She's buzzed him from outside, so she's coming to visit. And the caption that Coy here came up with is a beautiful use of Ave. And I will let you read it aloud and look up any words that you don't know. Perhaps you're not acquainted with THOT. You'll find that defined for you online. But anyhow, this cracked me up when I saw it. So it's an excellent example for you of a different kind of English completely capturing a moment.